Salvation from what? Well, okay.
What Gülen means from salvation is basically two things. Salvation from the oppression of tyranny, meaning arbitrary authority, and oppression of poverty and ignorance. So if individuals salvaged from these, they'll become better individuals, and the society will be upgraded.
Again, it goes back to the statement often repeated of Saint Nursi that the three real enemies of humankind today are ignorance, poverty, and conflict. And Gülen has been, the movement rather, has been trying to set up institutions to combat these three real enemies of humankind. Combat ignorance by the various forms of education, not only the schools, but the various things they do. To combat poverty through organizations like Kim Se-Yokmu, and to combat disunity by their dialogue centers and dialogue activities. So, I'll agree with what...
There's a gentleman behind. No. Yeah, with a white shirt. Yeah.
Just a question to Professor Lehmann. I just wanted to ask you about Gülen's emphasis on a human-centered discourse. He says that we need to unite. He says that we need to come together around high human values, that we need a more humane democracy, that we are human first, Muslim, Christian, Jew only later. So there's this emphasis on humanity, and it seems to me as though he takes religion in the strict sense, in the cultural, traditional sense of the word, out of the movement. In other words, in the past, if we wanted to donate something, we would donate to something that's overtly religious, to the mosque, to the Quranic center. But now he says, no, donating to a school that's non-denominational, or to a project that has nothing to do with religion or faith in the strict sense of the word, is also as acceptable as the other. Do you find that is the reason why, or do you agree with the proposition that is the reason why we're seeing so much diverse activity that doesn't seem to have anything to do with religion or faith in the overt sense of the word?
Well, I have two things to that. First, when speaking with these people who finance it, they see it really as a religious act. Some of them, not all of them. Again, I don't want to generalize there, but some of them, like big sponsors, for example, see this really as a religious act, just as education is a religious act. And some do it simply because they are members of the association, and it's part of the program of the association to support social work. Thus, yes, I think it's one of the strong points in Ismet, that he opened, entrepreneurship. He brought entrepreneurship, and maybe there's something Islamic in that, inside religious, religious motivations. You see, there is something, it should be interesting to look at Gülen also from a Weber perspective. From Weber's discussing the beginning of capitalism, and if you read the first texts, Benjamin Franklin and so, why they became capitalists and so on. There was also this religious motivation. There is something, sorry, or maybe I'm completely wrong, but when looking to these people, I think there is something Protestant, Calvinistic in that, in this entrepreneurship. There's something like that. It should be interesting to study that, really. Okay. But that's a strong point in the movement.
Yeah, I want to say one sentence on this idea of faith, and maybe faith getting separate from the rest. I think, of course, that's a future development that might be the case, but as I analyze Gülen and his, let's say, his followers, I think that's the value of these four concentric circles in Agai's analysis. So in the core of the movement, or the network probably, as it is now, although the core of a network is a problem, of course, there is a very strong spirituality. So if you look at how Gülen lives now and you take away faith, well, I don't know what it is then. But there might be a development towards the future in which it is much more loose, much more open, and therefore can accommodate many different people with many different motivations, but again doing the same service. So I would say the faith, or well, my book has to do with the renewal of faith by service. So I would say this idea of of service is the way in which faith is renewed. And some people would call it faith, and some people would say it's service to humankind.
I look at the organizers. Is there? So we have time for one last question, the ultimate question, over there. That covers all other questions.
I have a question for Mr. Lehman. We all know that Western Europe is getting more and more Islamophobic. Recently, even Germany's elite has joined this politically, and in Germany's case, historically very sensitive issue. How can the Gülen movement help turn around, supply solutions, or alleviate the problems that we, as second and third generation Muslims, are facing in Western Europe? Can they play a role, or have they already played a role?
Can you repeat that last one?
Have they played a role, or can they play a role?
Well, you are right. Europe is very Islamophobic, and how can you change that? How can you change feelings? That's a very difficult thing. I think we need collaboration between, let's say, the non-Muslims and the others, so that the face of a certain Islam, the imagine of a certain Islam as a positive cultural and social capital becomes evident in our society. That's what we have to do. That's what we really have to, because it's not only their interest, it's also our interest as non-Muslims. The problem is a bit, I think, but for the moment, as I see it, that the image of Islam is very determined by, and don't take it wrong, what I say, by Arab Islam. And there, you know, it should, sorry, my colleague Casey, but it should be interesting at a bit longer term, but I don't see how, if Gülen initiative should find some partnership also in Arab, Moroccan diaspora, but honestly, I don't see who for the moment. But it should be an interesting strategy, so that the more dominant image, also the media and so on, and for the people, is this kind of Islam. That they don't say, oh, you know, xenophobia is based on anxieties. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, so we finish the discussion now. I first would like to thank my colleagues here behind the table, and I would like to thank you for the lively discussion. We'll resume at 1:30. Okay, thank you very much.
There will also be a book signing during the lunch in the lobby, where you can buy and have some of the books mentioned in the conference proceedings signed. And we'll expect you back here at 1:30.